How many of you in this room own a cell phone? How many of you think you can't live without your cell phone? How many of you have kids or cousins, nephews or nieces whom you really admire seeing them operate those gadgets at such a small age and think they're so smart? Me too. Okay. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I have bad news. I'm not going to make you laugh today. I'm not going to make you laugh today. Because I'm going to talk about how your cell phone could even kill you. How many of you believe that that cell phone, which is a radiation emitting device, could pose a serious health hazard to you? For those of you who don't believe that, please beware, because recently a Supreme Court in Italy ruled out that a man's brain tumor was caused because of his heavy cell phone usage. This man was using his cell phone for almost 5 to 6 hours every day for the past 12 years, and he developed a tumor in a nerve called the trigeminal nerve, which is located here. Now this tumor required surgery, and the surgery left half his face paralyzed. Now this is not the only case which has happened, but there have been many cases like this, and a couple of professors from Sweden, they concluded by research that people who started using their cell phones heavily, especially in their teenage, have 4 to 5 times more chances of brain tumor than young adults like us. I would be using notes today because I have a lot of statistics and I'm no fan of memorizing stuff. So I talked about 5 to 6 hours of brain usage. But there was another study which concluded that just 50 minutes of cell phone exposure every day increases your brain cell activity around this area, and that causes very harmful biological damage. Most of us must have heard the term SAR, which is specific absorption rate. This is mentioned behind most of the microwave emitting devices which we own. Now this is actually a measure of the amount of thermal energy which is emitted from the device. And now this is only related to the thermal impacts which is created on the tissues. For example, you hold it like this, it creates heat. It's just the thermal impact on tissues. The same research concluded that the non-thermal effects, which is the energy emission, the radiation, that is more harmful than the SAR, the thermal effects. Damages from cell phones, they can take up to 15 years to surface up. It's like lung cancer and smoking. There are no initial symptoms. But researchers conclude that 15 years from now, there will be a pandemic with brain cancer related cases. Last year, the World Health Organization, WHO, they concluded that cell phone usage is one of the potential threats to cancer. And they have also placed cell phone usage in the same category as diesel engine emission, smoking, and pesticides. Now, brain tumor is not the only consequence which would arise out of heavy cell phone usage. A simple example would be, some of us wear our phones on our hips. That is a very bad thing to do because it can weaken the pelvic bones. And in men, it reduces sperm count, quality, mobility, and motility of the sperms. Number 2, the brain is covered by the skull and it is filled with fluid. Now we adults, our skulls are fully grown and they are thick enough. But now children, their bones are very weak and their skulls are very thin. And this fluid which I talk about, there is a lot of fluid in children compared to adults. Now this fluid is responsible for absorbing all the emissions which are emitted by these devices. That's why they say, ask your children not to use cell phones, because it's not necessary. There are some other types of cancer which could occur because of cell phone usage. That is eye cancer, salivary gland tumors, and testicular cancer. The cell phone industry is one of the fastest and the strongest growing industries in the world today, even more than the pharmaceutical industries. And it is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. These companies make donations, huge amount of donations. And the amount of donations these guys make even impact government policies. They can even dictate government policies. Why do they make such donations? It's just covering up for what they already know. Countries around the world, they are urging their citizens to take caution with cell phone usage. Canadians have implemented a small rule where they are actually limiting call length by limiting it to a certain amount of minutes. And they encourage people to use text messaging and headsets whenever possible. The Russians have issued a rule that children below the age of 18 are prohibited from using cell phones entirely. UK, Belgium, Germany, France, Australia, they have all urged their citizens to stop using cell phones so much. There are a few precautions which I could give you to minimize this radiation effect. Number one is children should avoid using cell phones. Number two, turn off your cell phone as often as possible. Use a landline when you're at work or at home. Reduce the usage of wireless devices when you're at home. If your bedroom has a wireless router or a Bluetooth speaker, please move them out of your bedroom, because when you sleep, you are supposed to have an interference-free sleep, and this is what gives you good sleep. Use your cell phone only in areas where there is good reception. When your cell phone reception is less, your phone emits more radiation, and that is even more harmful. Avoid carrying your phone on your body. Let it be this pocket, your front pockets, or your back pockets. It's not good, because we need to protect our reproductive organs, and for people who want to have healthy children, this is very important. Don't assume that one cell phone is safer than the other. Let it be an iPhone, let it be a Galaxy, let it be the phone which does 5 tasks in 2 minutes. They're all the same and equally harmful. Keep your cell phone at least 6 inches away from you and use safer headset technology, preferably a Bluetooth headset or a wired headset which has thick shielding. Now this limits the amount of radiation. By following a few of these precautions, we could minimize the risk of radiation, and after all, I think our body it's definitely more worth than that one phone call. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon.
That was a very informative speech.